It's Kevin Thomas here with Fantasy Football Friday. That's right, I decided we're going to start giving out fantasy advice on Fridays for Sunday's card, and this will be for Sunday the 5th. Uh, got a lot of games, to cover, and we got a lot of guys to cover in the process. You guys always tune in for my free picks. You always go over to Kevin Thomas 04 at Twitter to check out my free props. But today it's going to be all about fantasy. I do all the research. I know who's hurt. I know best matchups. This is my job. This is what I need to do to give you guys great advice on picks. So why not jump into fantasy? $1 billion business fantasy. I'm on DraftKings every week. I put up 2 to 3 every week. And 7 out of 10 times I'm making a little bit. Hey, if I made $1 million, I wouldn't be sitting here doing this. I won't lie to you. I wouldn't be doing this. But I have hit a couple. I've lost a couple nail biters. Sometimes I put up some turds. But I do know great matchups, and I wrote a list down of. I'm going to make it short and sweet, so follow along. I use DraftKings. I know a lot of people use FanDuel. I know there's many out there, but DraftKings is the one I love to use the most. Great results with DraftKings. So I'm going to go ahead. All these are off of DraftKings numbers, so do with it as you will. Now I'm looking at the best value because I think the best way to go is with the running backs and wide receivers. So I'm always trying to find the best quarterback at a cheap value. We got Derek Carr at home against Chicago. The only problem I see here is if Chicago gets too far behind, because you know the Saints defense. If Chicago gets too far behind, Derek Carr could take a hit, but the guy still likes to sling it. I mean, he's going to sling it even if they're ahead. Not known for running the ball. So we just want 22 points from him. 22 points would be great. You can get him for 5,700. Now, if you don't love that one, Jordan Love. Now, I know you're thinking, well, you're a Packers homo. That is true. But I never usually bet my guys. I stay away from picking against. I'll pick against the Packers, but I usually don't take them unless it's too good to be true. Look, Aaron Jones has been killing fantasy lineups all season long, but Jordan Love, he just turned 25. A lot of you didn't know that, so it's his birth week. Number 2, GM Brian Guntkus just came out and said he's got 10 games to prove himself. Now, this guy was taken number 1 in the first round, causing lots of trouble with Aaron Rodgers in the organization. They should have been drafting offensive linemen. I don't blame Jordan Love for his bad performance. I do blame the protection. Bakhtiara should have let him go to the Jets. Try to get another lineman for him. Runyon Jr. isn't his dad. So I don't blame Jordan Love, but it is his birth week. He is given an ultimatum to prove himself. So I think he runs more with the ball, which equals points. So I am going for him because it's 5,500. That's very cheap. If you want the top guy, that's Lamar Jackson. You're paying $8,000-$9,000 for him against Seattle, who just upped their run defense. So I'm not touching Lamar. I like Jordan Love here. And then CJ Stroud for Houston at home. They get Tampa Bay, who's pretty bad in the secondary. 6,200. I guess that's pretty good. 6,200 for him. My personal, I'll let you know, I went with Jordan Love here for 55. He's the cheapest of the 3. I did that because I wanted this running back very bad. I wanted Alvin Kamara against Chicago. That's kind of why I stayed away from Derek Carr, because I don't like to have a quarterback and running back on the same page here, because if they get a lead, they're just going to run the ball. I know he does catch a lot, which would help Derek Carr also, but I like Kamara here. He's 8,100, so you got to find a cheap quarterback to make this work, or you're going to give up with your wide receivers. Also, Barkley going against the Vegas Raiders. We saw how bad they are against the run. He's 7,900. I'm not taking Barkley. I want Kamara. I'm not taking Barkley, but he's an option. Now look, you can go on a lot of fantasy websites, fantasy YouTube things, and yeah, Captain Obvious can pick out Barkley and Kamara. Even Jonathan Taylor, 6,400. They're going against Carolina. Carolina gives up a lot. Now I know everyone thinks, oh, him and Moss. Moss might be the number. Moss isn't the number one guy. It's Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor kills me in my league because the guy I go against for our annual highest score has Jonathan Taylor. Got him for a steal, and the guy's working his way back. I think he's going to have a huge game. Jonathan Taylor. And then at 6,400, and then you could sneak Kareem Hunt in there for 5,500 too. They're going against Arizona. Arizona's going to be horrible. They're going to, rookie quarterback, going to give him a shot. They sent Dobbs off to Minnesota. Kyle Murray will not be playing, so I like Kareem Hunt. And another one at 5,400 is Ramon Stevenson. They're going against Washington. He's starting to get used. I know we all start thinking, Ramon Stevenson, come on, give him the ball, pass it to him. Well, no more Bourne. So he's going to be catching a little bit more. I'm pretty sure Parker's hurt for this one too. He's going to play. Juju, he's going to go. But that takes us to our wide receivers. And I'm going to start with this guy because I'm just talking about the Patriots. We all know Bourne's out. So Demario Douglas going against Washington, $4,000 at DraftKings. $4,000 for Demario Douglas. Plays for the Patriots. He's going to see 7 to 12 targets now that he's going to be the number one guy. The guy is fast. I know he only had 25 yards last week on 4 catches, but he's going to get going. And the guy is lightning. So against Washington, he's a must-have because once you have him, then you can start getting guys like Adam Thielen for 7,500. They're going against Indianapolis Colts. He's been the go-to guy in Carolina, so I like Adam Thielen. I took him with Douglas on my pick this week. And Nico Collins. Houston's at home going against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's great against the run. Mediocre at best against the pass. Nico Collins is the number one receiver in the Texans offense. If you want to go a little higher and take Barkley and Kamara, maybe you go for Tank Dell and take a shot with him. He's a little bit cheaper than Nico Collins. He seems to be the number 2 guy. I know Noah Brown, everyone thinks he's going to be the number 2 guy in Houston, but Tank Dell just came back from the concussion and he still had like 6 touches, 3 of them running the ball. So I wouldn't give up on Tank Dell. I actually have him in my fantasy league, but I'm not going to get him here. Like I said, Demario Douglas was the cheap one for me there with, I think, more upside against Washington. It'll be a closer game. Then we are going to, we had quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight end. I have one tight end here on my paper. Daniel Bellinger. Who's Daniel Bellinger? Well, if you know the New York Giants and you know Waller is pretty much done once again, you'll know Daniel Bellinger. He's a nice little outlet for whoever's going to quarterback. And for $2,500, he's going against the Raiders. They are going to run the ball, and they are going to dink and dunk. And Bellinger, all we need from him is 9 to 10 points. And I think he's going to give it to us. Now, you can give up on one of these wide receivers and go after Mark Andrews. He should have a decent game against Seattle. I just don't trust Lamar against Seattle. Seattle's defense is, you don't talk about because you always hear about the Browns and everyone else, but Seattle's defense pretty tough. And I think they made the right moves at the draft deadline. So Bellinger is my tight end. And because he is my tight end, that gives us Cleveland as our defense. 4,200 against Arizona, who's starting a rookie in Cleveland. Arizona, where it's 100 degrees humidity, going into New Jersey, into Cleveland, Ohio, where it's going to be 40 degrees if at best. I love Cleveland's defense here. Big numbers if you use a defense. Now, DraftKings, you don't have to pick a kicker and stuff. They're usually, who you're going to take there. We didn't have the games being played in Germany, so no Kelsey, no Mahomes, no Tyreek Hill, no Waddle. Those guys are all over there playing early. So that one you probably would do like the what's that called where the showdown where you just pick the guys and then you pick the top guy there. Uh, Me personally, Tyreek Hill going against Kansas City, he always feels like he has a dagger he wants to give them. I would put him as a top guy, but I know that's going to cost a lot. And in that, you double your top guy, and then it gets less. But then you got Rice. You know, he could have a big game for the Chiefs as well. Then you want to look at the kicker there too. You might want to take the Chiefs kicker for that, get you less value. Uh, but those are my fantasy. These are my fantasy. This is what pretty much I gave you my DraftKings fantasy team. But I'm always trying to find the best value with the most upside because I like to go higher with the running backs and then with the wide receivers. So hopefully this information helped you. Hopefully you tune in next Friday. If you want to leave a comment of what you think, or maybe you can help me out. I'll throw a couple up on DraftKings. If you like my lineup or you think there's something we can move around, help me out. We can help each other out here. Maybe hit that $1,000,000 all together. As always, good luck. God bless. Hey, stop back next Friday for Fantasy Friday.